Hello, everybody. Thank you for watching. As always, it's greatly appreciated. Hit the subscribe, hit the like, hit the share, hit the notification bell. And if you want to contact me, email, Gmail. It is americandufus at gmail.com. If you'd like to help support the show financially with a small donation or a great big giant donation, you can do so with the Cash App $ American Doofus, all one word, AMERICANDUFUS. This is the American Doofus channel, and this is something to think about for the 27th day of July, 2022. And we indeed have a lot of things to think about. So let's get right to it. We start out with a brief look at what's going on the page of CNN. Historic rate hike. The Fed's in a bold move to address raging U.S. inflation. We had a report the other day about price slashing about to commence in some areas in some stores. And I said that was because they were oversupplied. It was not because they were attempting to curb inflation, or it wasn't a sign that inflation was waning. It was simply a sign that they had too much supply, basic supply and demand. They had too much supply and the demand wasn't there, and they're going to have to cut prices temporarily. And once that supply is diminished, things will get different. Let's just put it that way. Also on CNN, Department of Justice move signals the probe has escalated. So Trump is now probably being investigated by the Department of Justice. Many will say it's about time. Many will say that is much ado about nothing. However, it is something to think about. Now, we've been talking about the possibility that I've had two sources that say Biden is not in good health, and don't be surprised if he doesn't step down. There were some that thought he may not return after the COVID. According to this report, he's feeling great and back to work in person. He wasn't supposed to be back to work in person until Friday after testing negative for COVID-19. So either my report was off, or Joe Biden is just trying to fight through something that may end up bringing him down. I hope that's not the case, but we shall see. It is indeed something to think about. And I wanted to bring your attention to this. Brittany Griner testifies that she was made to sign documents without understanding what they said. Brittany Griner, WNBA star and member of the LGBTQ plus community, is imprisoned in Russia currently for CBD oil. And we want to make sure to mention that because it often gets overlooked, and CNN is indeed reporting on it. Also, last night, I mentioned the fact that don't be surprised if there's a big earthquake, and possibly in the United States, because everything had kind of gone quiet. And when it goes quiet, it generally means that stress is building up. And indeed, a massive earthquake happened last night, hours after we did this show. Fortunately for us, it did not hit it here in the United States. It hit on the other side of the world. 7.1 magnitude earthquake struck the Philippine Islands, and it was a fatal earthquake. There were people that have lost their lives, people that have lost homes, lost farmlands. It was a powerful and devastating earthquake, and we told you that it was a distinct possibility based upon the readings we had been monitoring. Also, last night I talked about the possibility that there were Proud Boys in the security force. People on the ground actually reported they recognized someone as a Proud Boy that was supposedly providing security. After going back and listening closely to the video of Freedom Squirrel on Facebook, who actually did the interview, The man she interviewed said he was with CSA, Colorado Security Agency, and that this guy was from Indiana and this guy was from, and listed where people were from. Colorado Security Agency is based out of Washington, D.C. And Proud Boys have jobs, okay? And some of the Proud Boys have jobs, some have jobs in police forces and probably in security agencies. This is the most troubling thing to me about all of this right here. The picture we just clicked on, and we'll see if we can get it big. There we go. Special police. This, whether you're a conservative, a liberal, in the middle, no matter what community you are in based upon skin pigment, this should be troubling. They're marked as special police. The privatization of law enforcement should be something we should be very concerned about here in the United States. Is law enforcement becoming not for the public, but for the privileged? Just something to think about. Now, I mentioned last night's episode in the live that had a story about a Cincinnati police officer. This is from NBC News. It was briefly played. It wasn't stuck into rotation. The original footage was from WLWT out of Cincinnati. Let's take a couple of minutes and let's listen into this report.
You gotta move. Ridiculous.
This profanity-laced rant sent veteran Cincinnati police officer Rose Valentino to desk duty. On April 5th, she was pulling into the District 3 station to fill out a report when she noticed vehicles lined on the street to pick up students from school. She activated her lights and quickly became angry when they didn't move.
Is she gonna just sit there?
Body and dash camera video just released by CPD shows what happened next.
Don't. I hate him so much. I hate this world.
After rolling up her cruiser's window, she uses the N-word. Valentino told investigators a black student.
The question at the moment, we assume all police do not have this rage. The question is, when it becomes aware that police do have this rage, should they be continuing in duty? It's a question.
Gave her the finger, which led to her outburst. She was one of 4 officers profiled by WLWT and featured in a nationally televised reality show in 2011, Police Women of Cincinnati.
Never a dull moment. You go into every situation as if it's the first time, you've dealt with that sort of thing.
In Valentino's most recent performance review, dated after the rant, she was complimented as a hard worker who uses good judgment. A supervisor recommended she study for the promotion exam. In January 2019, this official reprimand says Valentino showed body cam footage from a homicide at the Glenway Pony Keg to family members while having dinner at the casino. In March 2020, she was arrested off duty. Her sister and
showing body cam footage to the public.
Brother-in-law accused her of pushing and hitting them with a closed fist and using an umbrella to repeatedly strike a vehicle. She pled guilty to disorderly conduct, a misdemeanor, and was ordered to attend an anger management assessment. 2 years later, she admitted she did not have control of her emotions here.
I hate it.
Valentino told internal investigations, "This is a hard job, and I was getting to a point where I was really being affected by it. I've been on for 14 years.
Thanks for watching our YouTube.
Okay, and she has the courage to admit that maybe the job's not for her. So why is she still part of the police force? Why are so many others the police union? I don't know if you've noticed, since I've been in politics a decade ago, I was very active in politics, as those of you that watch the show know. union busting has been a big thing in the federal government, busting all the unions, making sure that the power does not go to the workers but stays with the privileged. And the only union that isn't targeted is the police union. It's just something to think about. I talked last night about Egypt and how Egypt can be key in what is potentially about to happen in the world. And why is it important? Because when conflicts arise, whether it be on the local level, on the state level, on the national level, or internationally, worldwide, who's on whose side will indeed matter. And on a global scale, these are arms exports to Egypt between 2011 and 2020. The United States exported from the US to Egypt $2.3 billion worth of weapons. Russia, 3.93 billion. The EU, 11.8 billion. This is a massive uptick in massive uptick in armament shipments being sent to Egypt and being sent by sources, non-traditional sources. Now, according to the Middle East Eye, they're saying that it is a secret plan to stop EU countries from criticizing Egyptian human rights records. By buying $11 billion worth of weapons from the EU would stop criticizing Egypt for its violation of human rights records. Go to Facebook, look up Middle East Eye to see the whole video if you're so inclined. Why does it matter? Here's Egypt's geographical location. It is the connector between Africa and the Middle East. This little tiny section right here, bordering on Egypt, is Israel, Syria, Iraq, Iran, Turkey. Up here, the eastern countries that we are not allowed to mention. Egypt is a geographical key and a potential political key if worldwide conflict erupts. Whose side will who be on? It's something that has to be considered, has to be thought about, has to be, and yet to be determined. So that's why we bring it up. Anytime there is a tinderbox where the potential of one match strike can set the world ablaze, we should talk about it. Anytime in the United States, an incident is a matchbox that could potentially set the country on fire, we talk about it. And we've been doing that with the 1776 movement. Today, earlier this morning, you see the fire truck, you see the title, Chemical Attack. First of all, there was no chemical attack. But let's just take a listen for just a few seconds. This is from MAGA Americans, who's on the ground. He's a 1776 live streamer. They've got about 72 different live streamers. That's an exaggeration. They've got several different live streamers, and they had a thermonuclear reaction to water, possibly saline, being shaken from a bottle onto a person and his dog.
That's a little chemical attack.
So this is how it's portrayed. It's portrayed as a chemical attack. And it reminds me of Mike Pence, former vice president, when he was in Congress. remember, important people in Washington, D.C. were getting sent letters with anthrax in them. I don't know if you remember that or not, but if you look back, you'll see that's true. And Mike tried to elevate his position by saying that he had been attacked with anthrax too. He was important enough to get attacked when it actually wasn't anthrax. It wasn't an attack, and many people thought it might have come from his own people. Some of the stuff that has happened to the 1776 movement, there is speculation that has all been done by inside people to try to elevate the importance of the movement. A couple of nights back, there were voodoo dolls and chalk art or chalk drawings that said 666 with a pentagram. Two things about this. If it indeed was from the outside, then their security is not very good. And if that rattles them, what happens if there was an actual real attack? So again, just giving you things to think about. There's a guy on YouTube called Just a Lazy Gamer, and he's really following closely the 1776 movement, and he's got some footage that I think we need to share here real quickly. We showed her last night coming out the back door. She came out the front door and actually tried to elevate her position by aligning herself with a group that she obviously is not aware of what they're really all about, or well, maybe she is.
They have now reached the bargaining phase. Screaming Steve, we're going to see Ann and Mike over to Marjorie Taylor Greene, has started talking about his story, why he's there, and what he might do next. He's like, it's not all ruined. I can go to the different offices. I can go complain at the CIA, the FBI, the Treasury Department. And of course, Corinne was talking to him, and she goes, oh, yeah, but they're going to say that you were involved in January 6th. He goes, oh, I was there. The FBI is investigating me. That actually happened. I'll try to get a clip of that.
Okay, so there are, just so you know, there are more than one that was at January 6th involved in the 1776 movement. One we showed last night, Stormtrooper 1791, has said on his stream that he was there at the Capitol as well. So this movement from the beginning has not, it is not what they present themselves to be.
Put it in the comments, but she is live, so that can be a little harder. But let's see what Marjorie Taylor Greene put out, because it features 1776. You can hear Steve, you can hear 1776 dogs.
Constitutional republic.
Now this guy, this is Steve. It's not his real name. His real name's something else, but and it doesn't include Steve.
So anyone who's here going, well, who are these people? Look up 1776 Restoration Movement. They are a cult that's been living on the National Mall. They're an offshoot of the People's Convoy. It's a mess. There's so much to cover. Welcome to the channel.
Again, this is Just a Lazy Gamer. And right before getting ready to come on, some new information came out from the same source. Once again, let's go to Just a Lazy Gamer.
So member of the 1776 asked, hey, so if this guy's car is actually totaled, Can we use some of the money from Santa or Big?
Okay. The guy they're talking about is the guy that had water thrown on him, that claimed a chemical attack and his car's totaled and destroyed. And this just kind of shows that that's all a scam, or if that's not a scam, the whole thing is a scam. Let's watch.
D's jail Gibson goes? Well, we have an answer to that. So let me get to this one. Let's zoom out so you can see it. We did a live asking the people on Facebook through 1776 about the funds donated. Total was $10,748 minus fees. I have spent over $6,000 on legal fees, fines, and stuff related to Big D and the July 4th incident. We asked people if they thought it was okay to use some of the funds for a down payment on a vehicle. And 90% of the people said the money was donated for Big D. And we know you all have needs. Use it for what you need. And so we did. We desperately needed a vehicle. I went and bought one yesterday. Now we can get to DC and go places that we need for the movement. Praise the Lord that I was approved. I would not have been able to if I didn't have that down payment. I thank each person that has donated cash to the movement. Other than the movement, we couldn't do it without you. So much love and appreciation. So yes, no, they've already spent the money on a car. You can't make this stuff up. Yep. And of course, you notice they do the live on Facebook because most of the viewers are YouTube stream viewers. Did they know the money was going towards a car?
It just keeps on going, and we'll keep on following it. We'll be talking about it more, and we'll be live tomorrow night, Thursday night at midnight for Late Night America. Something else we've been covering on a major large scale has been the Earth's geographic North Pole and the geomagnetic field. More and more scientists are starting to understand that, yes, indeed, both of the poles, the South Pole has been migrating for a while and is outside of the Antarctic continent. North Pole is migrating rapidly towards Russia, and more science starting to actually realize the North Pole over the Earth's surface and the components of the angular momentum of the atmosphere and global jumps in the geomagnetic field are indeed for real. Not a lot we're going to be able to do about it, simply because we don't know what for sure is going to happen if and when it does happen. We can just be best prepared for whatever may happen, as we often talk about on this program. Now, for those that haven't seen it before, this is what we are actually contemplating here: the North Pole, the South Pole, the Earth's magnetic field. A bar magnet presents a similar configuration of magnetic flow.
Are located. So
this is an experiment that I've talked about a lot. The theory is that when the magnetic pole hits the 40-degree latitude mark, the magnetic field is weakening, and the lines are weakening from the center, from the equator up, and the weak lines begin at that 40-degree mark. So this is an experiment that shows what will happen based upon a regular bar magnet when it hits the 40-degree mark. And what happens to Earth depends upon how well the experiment comes to match what is actually going on with the Earth's magnetic field. While it is like a bar magnet, it may not behave exactly as a bar magnet does, which we see in this experiment.
I'm going to start the video where you can see what we've got is a magnet rotating. Now, I've stopped it just before 40 degrees. You can see that the magnetic compass doesn't flick over, but when it goes beyond 40 degrees, it does that flick. What I'm suggesting in my theory is in the core. The magneto is actually rotating, and what we've been witnessing for the last 120 odd years is that movement. And what's happened is the dipoles have followed the magneto, and as a result, I'm suggesting that it could do the exact same as what we're looking at in that experiment. Now, Ben Davison says a lot of things the other day that I don't think debunks this theory.
Ben Davidson is the astrophysicist that we monitor and get some of our information on solar activities. So these, and Ben Davidson is in agreement that the poles are shifting and it's going to create a problem. The only conflict between these two is when it's going to happen, how fast it happens, and really how much devastation it causes. If you want to know more about this, it's on Maverick Star Reloaded, or you can find Ben Davidson at Suspicious Observers. So we're going to monitor all the things we've been talking about for this episode. We're going to continue to monitor all of them. We're going to look into the Colorado Security Agency. We're going to find out who actually owns that, and see if there are connections, and if those connections are worth investigating and potentially reporting. We're going to keep an eye on what's happening, of course, with 1776. We're going to keep an eye on what's happening in the world, even though we can't report on what's going on by mentioning specifics about Eastern Europe. The turmoil there continues. So thank you very much for watching. As always, we will be back tomorrow, Thursday at midnight, with Late Night America live. And we will be back potentially before then, if there is breaking news worthy of coming back on and reporting it for you. Hopefully things stay quiet and peaceful, but this is 2022, and quiet and peaceful have not been key words thus far in this particular year, 7 months in. So we'll be monitoring things, and we thank you for checking in here to see what's going on. This has been another episode of Something to Think About on the American Doofus channel. Thank you very much for watching. Hit the subscribe, hit the like, hit the share, hit the notification bell if you want to help keep us on the air. A donation through Cashapp, $ American Doofus, AMERICANDUFUS. And if you want to email me, Gmail, americandufus@gmail.com. Once again,